High Altitude Low Opening Combat Evolved is a 2001 game developed by Bungie. I think they made Destiny. No, not the political streamer.
You don't get to bring friends.
By the time I was actually old enough to understand what I was looking at on a screen, Halo had already drifted out of the cultural zeitgeist thanks to Halo 4 and then whatever that next one was supposed to be. I basically missed the entire era where Master Chief was the coolest thing ever. He was already a relic by the time I knew what a gaming console was. Then I watched one single video about Halo's midnight releases and the algorithm instantly decided that this is all you're watching forever. So I started getting inundated with Halo clips, edits, breakdowns, and God forbid, lore videos. At that point, I realized I should probably just play the game before YouTube spoils the entire franchise for me, just like with me in Half-Life. So, I decided it was finally time to play Halo Combat Evolved for the first time.
Hey bro, watch your jet. Watch your jet, bro.
Going in, I had a few questions though. Does it live up to the legendary status that I've been told about online? Has it really aged well enough for people to still call it the best Halo game ever? Is it fun for someone who does not have any nostalgia for it? Well, we're going to be finding all of that out today.
I used anniversary graphics for the first 3 chapters of the game. Please don't believe me in the comments.
Chapter 1, The Pillar of Autumn.
Oh, there it is. That's the ring.
Immediately upon startup, I'm shown the Pillar of Autumn heading towards a mysterious ring in space, the Halo. A few seconds later, the Pillar of Autumn's alarms start blaring and the military on board is gearing up for something.
Damn, those are some interesting tanks.
I see the all-important guy on the box art.
It's the guy I saw on the box art. Wow, that's Steam. Holy, graphics from 2011. Wait, I need to press WAS and D to move? Why are they not saying anything? Like, what's even happening? It's just, what the fuck?
As a new player for the first time, I did not know that Anniversary was so different and worse than the original game. There are entire lines of dialogue missing, and the music is not nearly timed as well. The kind technician gets blown up by the incoming aliens, and then I have to run as quickly as I can to try and reach the bridge whilst dodging alien gunfire.
Oh shit, oh. I went the wrong way. Can I have your gun, please? Please? They seem very scary, please. No? Okay.
Eventually, I make it to the bridge where Captain Keyes gives me Cortana, the ship's onboard AI.
Hello.
Captain Keyes.
Good to see you, Master Chief. Things aren't going well. Cortana did her best, but we never really had a chance. I don't keep it loaded.
Finally, I'm getting a gun. I get to shoot people. It's a pistol though, so it's probably gonna be shit, but you know. Ooh. Defy the Covenant!
Keyes also gives me my first weapon, the pistol. I assumed wrongly and thought that it would be the usual throwaway starter gun, the pea shooter if you will, but it's somehow stronger than most of the other weapons in the game that look 10 times scarier. So, I don't know why Bungie made it like that, but honestly, I'm kind of glad that they did make the pistol look like a cartoon gun.
These guys strafe more than the average CSGO player. Oh, nice.
After fighting my way through the Pillar of Autumn and getting attacked by Covenant, a name I only learned because the game tells me right here on an advertising board, I managed to get to a group of helpless soldiers into an escape pod and launch myself towards the Halo below. Chapter 2, Halo. Yeah, they all died.
That crash was quite eventful.
I don't even really know why, but apparently there is a famous theory in the Halo community that they all died because Master Chief forgot to put on a seatbelt.
There was a minor shake. Come on, man.
Once I land, a ship full of Covenant soldiers and these purple things immediately begin bombarding me. Quite rude, didn't even give me a chance to walk around for a bit. Soon after that, I link up with some Marines,
Holy uncanny valley.
fight off some reinforcements, and get to use the car for the first time.
What are these controls, man? What are these?
Driving the car is the first time I properly understood what people meant when they said that Halo was a sandbox shooter. The controls feel a bit strange for a few seconds, but it's pretty intuitive, especially for the time. There's also a massive hole in the ring that leads to this alien-looking structure with a weird cutscene. It's some floating orb robot.
It's just my dogs. It's just my IP address.
I have no idea what this little fella is talking about. He looks like Wheatley from Portal 2. Something about an array and an alien civilization. Presumably it doesn't exist anymore. Unlucky! After driving around for a bit and getting a little confused, I finally find the way, which leads to this huge chamber with a laser bridge that I have to turn on. Once I fight some grunts and the funny tall blue guys who dodge grenades, I'm finally able to activate the laser bridge and continue my mission of finding the other survivors of the Pillar of Autumn's crash. Cortana also tells me that there is new traffic on the Covenant battle battle network. I assume it's some sort of Covenant internet. Apparently, a lot of crew from the Pillar of Autumn made it out alive than expected. Keys, the captain who gave me my first gun, is also alive too, and if I can link up with him, then maybe I can take down the Halo ring for myself.
Okay, but like, why does the ring matter? Like, why are we fighting over it? Are we fighting over it because it's like a colonial dispute or something? Do we want to like settle the Halo ring? I don't really know what's going on, if I'm being honest.
One thing I love about Halo's soundtrack though, is that it makes you feel awesome. Even when you're absolute shit at handling the Warthog, it really makes you feel like the most badass person alive. Further ahead, after clearing out some more Covenant, I go underground and rescue some stranded Marines who were trying to fight off the Covenant above them. It did not matter though, because all the Covenant were dead when I got there. Unlucky. When I get back outside, there are even more Marines hiding in the hills, so obviously I have to go help them, and well, while I'm fighting off the Covenant shooting at them, Cortana mentions that the Covenant have captured Captain Keyes and the rest of the commanders. That's not good, but it's also not really surprising either. For the final time in this mission, I find yet another group of survivors pinned down by the Covenant. I still don't know why that guy looks like that, by the way. After fighting off the Covenant and dying a few times, I finally clear the area and a helicopter thing swoops in to extract everyone. Guys, it's like an extraction shooter, it's like Ark Raiders. Chapter 3, Truth and Reconciliation. After getting dropped off by the military jet helicopter thing, I'm equipped with a sniper rifle and an assault rifle. Honestly, this section is pretty fun in its entirety, mostly because I could kill those big blue tall guys in one shot. Thank God. By forcing my way forward through the incoming Covenant, I eventually reached the enemy Covenant ship where they're holding Captain Keyes, at least according to Cortana's knowledge. An interesting mechanic in this level is the gravity teleportation thing.
Yeah, what the? Well, I like teleporting.
That transport Covenant from the ship to the ground. Instead of landing or dropping in quietly, they appear in bursts of purple light. I get a little too focused on grenading the blue people and accidentally walk off the cliff.
I feel like the biggest
But once I respawn and clear the reinforcements,
oh no,
I finally secure the landing platform. A helicopter drops off some more Marines, and with their support, I move on to the lift and enter the cruiser to search for Captain Keyes. As soon as I step inside the cruiser, someone jinxes the situation.
What? There's no Covenant here. Think maybe nobody's home.
Yeah, I find that hard to believe.
And of course, there are several 100,000 enemies behind the next set of metal doors. One of them is an invisible elite with a sword.
What, there's invisible ones?
After dealing with all of that, I finally get out of the gravity lift chamber. The inside of the cruiser is nothing but purple corridors that all look identical. Also, because I replayed this section on original graphics, Anniversary somehow makes it worse, which is impressive because the original was already very purple, but Anniversary just adds these random details that make no sense. I keep moving until I reach the big door blocking the Marines. Once I open it, I proceed to annihilate the grunts on the other side before pushing into the hangar. After killing several annoying elites, I finally find Captain Keyes in the holding cells. He calls me an idiot for trying to rescue him and then immediately thanks me, which is very on brand for him. Cortana also tells me something important. She has been listening in on Covenant communications and apparently
the ring has some kind of deep religious significance. They believe that Halo is some kind of weapon, one with vast, unimaginable power.
The Covenant kept saying that whoever controls Halo controls the fate of the universe.
His face was animated with go animate.
they are also looking for some control room, which probably means they want to blow something up. Great, fantastic. Chapter 4, The Silent Cartographer. This is probably my favourite mission if I'm being honest. From what I understand, my official objective here is to find some sort of map room that will show us where the control room is. In reality, my first actual task is surviving the opening 30 seconds while every elite on the island decides to focus fire on my helmet.
Oh, are you serious? Oh, I could have just done this.
Once the beach is clear, Fohammer casually drops a warthog out of the sky. Like I said, my favourite mission. The best thing about Halo is tearing across the landscape in a warthog. Some Marines jump on, one gets into the gunner seat and immediately starts screaming, "You like that?" whilst shooting at anything that moves. Eventually, I find this structure built into the cliffside.
I'll bet the Silent Cartographer is somewhere inside that facility.
We're looking for the Woodland Mansion.
It looks important and is very well guarded. There's quite a few elites and grunts. They are extremely unimpressed that I brought a car to their front door, so I hop out, immediately misjudge the blast radius of an enemy grenade, and perish.
What the fuck is going on?
After clearing them out, I head inside into the facility. At the bottom there is a corridor and an open doorway with a yellow armored elite standing inside.
Hold on a second. I can get through if I lob a grenade. Oh, what? He just closed anyway.
The only way to actually open the place is to go somewhere else entirely and hit a security override. So, up I go, back to the surface, to the Warthog. From there, I drive down into the beach again, take out the Guarding Covenant, and follow a path that leads to the interior of the island. After taking the path, it leads to this weird area with these big guys guarding a building. They do a lot of damage. After struggling for a while and being cautious on low health, I managed to take one of them out and then pick up one of these triangle things that give you health. There's some sort of alien suit charging thing, but it prevents me from dying as easily, so I'm happy. A little battle breaks out before I find another building with another set of those big ones.
Why was he spinning when the grenade got attached to him?
Once those guys are gone, I can finally shut down the security system, which means that the door that was locked by that golden elite is now open. After heading back there using the beach, I return to the facility in the cliff face. A whole variety of new reinforcements have arrived in the area now.
Leave me alone, dude. I'm gonna fucking die. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Was it worth it? Was it worth it?
However, with the rocket launcher by my side, it's a pretty fair fight. When I clean up the Guarding Covenant, a cutscene plays where Master Chief just looks at the drop. Wow, so consequential and deep. There's also a corridor to the side, so I decide to pursue it and absolutely destroy the Covenant in there. I'm so good at Halo, wow. After finding an entire army down there and heading deeper underground into the facility, I finally find the map room and the holo panel. Cortana also tells me that Halo's control center is in some sort of temple or shrine, and that it is an unlikely place to put a control center. What do you mean? This entire area is a floating ring in space that's been left for like thousands of years and has the same geography as Yugoslavia. Whatever. Now we have to extract. Thankfully, it's not super difficult until I start hearing the super awesome music. It's only a few grunts though, and because of my blatant lack of knowledge of this entire area, the intense music overlays me figuring out where to go, so I just look retarded.
I need the yellow paint.
Wow, there are a lot of moments like this throughout the entire campaign. I am, quote,
having fun in the video game.
After dealing with a few elites on the way upward, especially the golden armored one with a sword that looks ridiculously fun to use,
ugh, just sentenced to death.
we head out of there and extract onto a
VTOL. It's a VTOL, I think. I don't know, man. It looks like the thing from Helldivers.
Chapter 5, Assault on the Control Room. During the transition phase between Chapter 4 and 5, Cortana reveals to Foehammer that the coordinates we're going to are underground, but most of that journey can be completed by air due to the labyrinth of tunnels inside the Halo ring. I like the grunts. Once I land, I have no idea that this mission is about to reveal the most copy-paste level design ever devised by mankind. There are about 2 main rooms or levels in this chapter: the bridge and the room, not the movie. It also does not help that the ambience for these levels sounds like some guy snoring.
This shit is not threatening. Ooh, we're outside.
At some point, I reach the Great Outdoors. It's a really snowy valley, but there's a huge battle going on between the Covenant and the UNSC. The Covenant also have this weird purple vehicle called a Ghost someday that zooms around. I manage to hijack one eventually, and it's very fun. Almost as fun as the Warthog. Once the Covenant are cleared out, I team up with the remaining, still breathing, Marines and drive onward.
720. There we go. That was a 1080.
There is a tank just parked there like a sitting duck. Although there were elements of this earlier, I think this is also the point where Halo's level design becomes very split. I personally enjoy the tank sections outside more, and you know, just generally being in the big outdoors, big open spaces, lots of enemies, and the tank sounds powerful. You really feel like today's sponsor. No, I don't have a sponsor, but I do have a subscribe button that is completely free and that a large portion of you have not clicked. You get to watch my Victoria 3 video on repeat forever, so you win some and you win some.
Maybe I do it like the announcer from Halo. Chill over.
Anyway, what usually happens in this mission and some of the others in this game is that after the open world sections, which are amazing, the game immediately puts you back into the same exact room you've been in for like, I don't know, 5 trillion times. Sure, it still plays well, but it's pretty boring to look at the same room over and over again with very few changes. Sure, I understand this was definitely a constraint due to this game being on the original Xbox with how much RAM to load textures? Oh. After driving around and shooting anything that moves, especially Covenant, into a fine paste. I finally reach this weird spiral thing. Immediately, I get ambushed on both sides by Covenant. Unfortunately, the only way to survive is by getting rid of these guys on foot with the rocket launcher. With those rather rude Covenants sorted out, it's back to the labyrinth of copy-pasted rooms and bridges again. Unsurprisingly, I complained about this quite a bit at the time.
Another bridge section? Oh, how many rooms are there?
Long last, we reach the control room. There's an entire army of enemy troops on this bridge, and the weird, flying plane things return that are purple and they have, like, wings. Much slower and smaller than a regular plane, but the damage is just about the same. Dude, that rhymed.
We got 2 of these twats now?
I get stuck on this level for a while, mostly because I go in guns blazing too many times. Eventually, after methodically taking everyone down, especially the flying plane things, I finally pass on to the next set of rooms that hopefully, fingers crossed, lead to the control room. After fighting through the rooms for a few minutes, we finally reach the bottom of the pyramid. The top of the pyramid is where the control center is located. However, there is an entire army at the base of the pyramid with a tank to boot. I died a lot on this level too, and got very close to completing it several times. It was so annoying.
I was about to crash out.
And move on to Halo's control center. After uploading Cortana to the terminal, she talks about the Halo ring being built by the Forerunner.
The Covenant were right. This ring, it's Forerunner. Yes, the Forerunner built this place, what they called a fortress world.
I have no idea what any of this shit means, by the way.
Chapter 6, 343, Guilty Spark. This level begins with me being unceremoniously dumped into a swamp that looks rather uninviting to say the least. It is dark, it is foggy, everything is making strange animal noises, and the atmosphere is excellent.
I gotta find Keys again. He's not very good at not getting caught.
As soon as I drop in, it becomes increasingly clear that the Covenant are on edge for some reason, and the entire place has a foreboding atmosphere that something is going on. I only start to pick up on this properly once I get deep into the underground facility. There are piles of already dead Covenant, which you don't see often, a UNSC soldier that shoots at me.
What the Why were you shooting at me? What? Okay, this does not look good. What is this?
And the blinking lights, which famously is not a sign of something creepy at all. Eventually, I get far enough down into the facility where this cutscene plays.
Who there? It's Captain Keys.
Apparently, every UNSC soldier has a fucking 3DS strapped to the side of their helmet and a compatible SD card that can be watched at any time. You can see the soldiers coming into the facility and the eventual build-up to hundreds of little gremlin bug things that attack the now dead soldiers. Very sad. I like the obligatory screaming from the soldiers as well.
Oh. It's like Bioshock.
Another game I've not played. After the tape ends, I'm immediately bombarded by hundreds of these little parasite things with their
what are those?
big proto-human cousins that look like walking walls of flesh. Truly amazing. Some of the Flood have guns too, which is probably the most annoying combination in human history. The fact that they're so ridiculously accurate is baffling. They are literally walking walls of flesh with like no brains. They are parasites. One thing that does make up for the dire straits that the Halo ring is now in with the arrival of the Flood is the shotgun. I love the shotgun. It is the only weapon in the entire game that makes them, manageable. Eventually, I got out of the structure the same way I came in, with some additional help from some Marines and an Australian.
Here for hours. After we lost contact with the rest of the mission, we headed for the RV point, and then these things, they ambushed. We gotta get out of here.
Yeah, but you're Australian.
Together, we fight our way through the swamp towards the tower, where we're supposed to get picked up. However, the floating orb thing called 343 Guilty Spark shows up. That's the floating thing that looks like Wheatley from Portal 2. It keeps saying to itself, "I am a genius." That voice line gets pretty old pretty quickly. After helping us out against the Flood, the floating orb greets us and tells us that he is the monitor of Installation 4, and that his task is to prevent the Flood from leaving the Halo ring. Makes sense.
My function is to prevent it from leaving this installation.
So are we just leaving everyone behind?
Chapter 7, The Library. The library begins with 343 Guilty Spark, teleporting me to some kind of archive
Where?
everything is metal, everything is grey, everything is a corridor that leads to another corridor. Spark tells me that our goal is to reach something called the index chamber, where the index is being kept, presumably. I did not know any of this at the time, but the index is kind of like a key that lets you activate the Halo ring, presumably to kill the Flood, which is why every faction in this game would kill to get a hold of it. Spark does not bother to tell me any of this, by the way. He just says that we need it and keeps floating forward whilst chuckling to himself. himself. Not suspicious at all. I follow him like an idiot despite the fact that he drifts ahead at twice my speed and then has the audacity to tell me that I brought bad weapons to fight the flood with.
Okay, well you fly and I don't. Can you please like shoot them or something?
Brought such ineffective weapons to combat the flood, despite the containment
I
protocols.
fucking hate this guy, man.
I didn't know that the flood was here, okay? The open areas are relatively quiet, but this lasts about 10 seconds before the flood bursts through the vents and the doorways at every possible opening. Immediately, I'm being swarmed from every direction, flood with shotguns,
I especially hate these shotgun ones.
flood with rocket launchers, flood with SMGs, and the giant flood that explodes if you get too close or shoot it and they're too close. They are my least favorite enemies in the entire game. Everything they do is just designed to drastically reduce life expectancy.
If it's not fun, why bother?
This is like Hunt Down the Freeman tier. They fucking do. Holy.
Eventually, after what feels like an hour of running through the same corridor over and over again, Spark finally brings me to the giant central chamber. The index is floating there in the middle of a large platform. Master Chief takes the index and the floating guy nicks it and says that he must have it because I am, quote, vulnerable to infection. Okay. It is then revealed that the way Guilty Spark was going to get rid of the flood was genociding all sentient life in the galaxy. Anyway, there's a fight over activating the ring, the index, and Cortana. After that mini little boss fight sort of thing, Cortana tells me that we can't allow Spark to activate Halo. Makes sense. Basically, the only way to do that is to explode the Pillar of Autumn's engines, which would generate an explosion large enough to permanently disable Halo. After finally leaving the control room, we've been here before. Another way to prevent 343 from destroying Halo is by destroying the pulse generators that generate the energy to allow Halo to fire its weapons. Finally, I get to a Banshee and start flying to the firing pulse generators to hopefully blow them up and buy us some more time. I have to do this a few times though, and the fighting in between those levels and disabling the generators is probably the most chaotic throughout the entire game. There are 500 different enemy types smushed together all into one level, and whilst it makes for some interesting gameplay, it can get a little overwhelming if I'm being honest. At least the music slaps, like always. Eventually, I get to the final engine and disable it, and now Cortana decides to tell me about the teleportation grid that runs throughout Halo. That's how Sparker moves around so quickly, and that's where 2 Betrayals ends.
Let's go.
Chapter 9, Keys. Now we're back to rescue Keys from another Covenant ship. Because I can teleport, there's no getting to the ship like usual, but this ship is completely wrecked from the inside. The ship is full of Flood, Covenant, these 2 guys running.
What is this, Tom and Jerry?
It's a mess. Eventually, I head towards the ship's hangar. One issue though, there's a massive gaping hole in the hull. Look at that low resolution texture.
Less the original Xbox.
Eventually, after jumping in, I have to fight some enemies on the ground to get back into the ship from another angle. This level is actually very fun, probably one of the most enjoyable in the entire game. I love the atmosphere too. The teal colored coolant covering the sandy stone walls is really cool. Eventually I reach the gravity well chamber and head back into the ship to hopefully rescue Keys, who is apparently still alive according to his biosignal. After fighting our way through the majority of the ship, Keys is starting to sound worse and worse.
He's delirious. In pain. We have to find him.
He's basically pleading for us to get off the ship before the ravenous flood consumes the entire ship and everyone on board, including ourselves. Eventually, we get to the room where his biosignal is strongest.
That's a miserable way to go out.
07, Mr. Keys, you basically did nothing except get rescued, but I'm sure he was great off screen. Cortana retrieves what she can from his neural implants, including the command codes required to access the Pillar of Autumn. After recovering the data, I fight my way back out of the ship. Eventually I get to a hangar and escape out of there, barely into a Banshee. Chapter 10, The Moor. We're finally here, the Pillar of Autumn, and it looks significantly worse compared to when we last saw it. I enter the ship through a damaged access point. The interior is heavily burned, collapsed in places, and filled with both Covenant and Flood forces. After reaching the bridge, Cortana suggests uploading herself to the control systems. She sets the reactors to go off in 15 minutes, which is apparently enough time to get off the ship. However, it's not that easy. Spark shows up in the engine room, and apparently he's accessing the ship's terminal, which allows him to look through Cortana's own mind. Apparently he's learning about human history.
All of our lost time. Human history, is it? Fascinating.
Bro's reading about the Franco-Prussian War.
What results from this is basically me fighting Covenant and Flood for about 10 minutes before finally getting to the engine room. Once I actually reach the reactor section, Cortana reminds me that we cannot just press a button to blow up the ship. Instead, I have to physically damage the fusion core with explosives. But after finally exploding all the exhaust shafts, the engines are done for. Cortana informs me that the meltdown has officially started. The ship is now on a 15-minute timer and the alarms are going insane. Unfortunately, this awesome sequence is ruined by this bug.
What the fuck?
Thank you, Halo. So, I have to reload. About 5 minutes later, I get back to where I was, and Cortana desperately calls out to Fohammer for evac. Unfortunately, instead of having 15 minutes to get out of here, the engines are gonna go critical in, I don't know, 9 minutes early. We have 6 minutes to get off the ship. Thankfully, there's a car, but I have to drive 2 kilometers to get to the junction in time. Apparently, if the engine blows, the surface of the ship will be several hundred million degrees hot. Anyway, now we're just driving across the entire surface of a ship with hundreds of battling troops and weird, like, skate park geometry everywhere. Well, whatever, I guess the Warthog run commences. Honestly, this section is kind of awesome. It makes no sense that there's an entire Mario Kart racetrack on top of the Pillar of Autumn, but it's fun, so who cares? Also, Fohammer gets shot out of the sky. Unlucky. Anyway, with a little bit of driving and perseverance, we make it out of the Pillar of Autumn with barely any time to spare, and that's the end of Halo Combat Evolved.
We did what we had to do. For Earth. An entire Covenant armada obliterated, and the Flood. We had no choice.
I think we're just getting started.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It's pretty good.
So, let's talk about why Halo Combat Evolved actually deserves the reputation it has. The first thing that surprised me is how normal the controls feel. No, not normal for 2001, just normal. 2 sticks, or in my case, a keyboard and mouse, 2 weapons, grenades on a key, melee on a key, etc, etc. It feels like a template, and it makes sense why everyone basically yoinked the 2-weapon system immediately after this game came out. The second thing is how deliberate the enemy design is. Every enemy type actually has a job. Grunts are cannon fodder if you delete their boss, well, they just panic in general. Elites are the real fight, jackals are very annoying, hunters are mini bosses with obvious weak spots. The Flood are just, well, they're the Flood. When the game is at its when the game is at its best, it feels like you're solving mini little combat puzzles over and over again. Which 2 guns do I bring? What do I drop first? Do you throw a grenade or push with a pistol? It never really tells you the correct answer. You just kind of learn by dying and pretending that it was intentional. Then there's the music and tone, which is honestly doing more lifting than I expected. Everyone knows their main theme at this point, but what actually sells it is how rarely the game uses music. You'll have whole stretches where it's just ambience and gunfire, and then suddenly the beat drops when you're just about to enter a new level, or the music slowly builds quietly in the background whilst you're driving across the snow with a tank. The soundtrack is not just good, it's used with restraint, which is something a modern game should really take into consideration. This is what modern audio design looks like in modern gaming. Visually, it's obviously aged, but the art direction carries it. The ring itself, the skybox, the giant forerunner, structures, the way everything feels oversized compared to you. Hell, even the textures look pretty good for the time. It's clean, you can tell where things are, Covenant are bright and colourful, UNSC stuff is blocky and industrial, Forerunner interiors are cold and geometric, and unfortunately, sometimes cloned 6 times in a row. Speaking of that, yes, the reused areas and the library stuff are real problems. Assault on the Control Room and 2 Betrayals share a lot of game design. The library is basically one man's personal war against copy-pasted corridors. Some sections definitely go on for too long, but what saves it is the encounters inside those spaces that still feel different. 2 Betrayals works because everything is complete chaos between the Covenant, Flood, Sentinels, and the one-man army, myself. The library works in an evil sort of way because it really sells the Flood being endless and, more importantly, annoying. The story also worked better than I expected. It's not some incredibly complex character drama, but honestly, I'm kind of glad that it wasn't. Some games and media start out their project with way too much shit going on. However, the mystery of the ring, the slow reveal of what Halo actually is, the way the Flood are introduced into this VHS helmet 3DS tape sequence, it is clean, and the game ties your objectives to the story well enough that you kind of understand what you're doing without knowing everything at the same time. As someone playing this properly for the first time in 2025 with 0 childhood memories attached to it, I would not call Halo Combat Evolved flawless. Some missions drag. The library is actual psychological warfare. When you sign up for the Marines, they actually make you play that mission on repeat for 12 hours a day for a week to test your endurance. But I also cannot pretend that it is just overrated nostalgia. It genuinely holds up. The shooting feels good, the sandbox is smart, the AI is surprisingly competent, especially for something from 2001. The atmosphere is strong enough to compete with games released decades after it, and most importantly, I finished it and immediately understood why this game was enough to carry an entire console for a decade. decade and spawn an entire beloved franchise. So, as a first-time player in 2025, no nostalgia goggles, no LAN party memories, no emotional connection to the early Xbox era, Halo Combat Evolved is still absolutely worth playing nearly 25 years later, and I implore you to play it. I thoroughly enjoyed my time, and you will too. Alright, that's kind of the end of the video. If you did enjoy this video, please make sure to like, subscribe, comment, share the video, and share it on Reddit, get like 10 updates. Follow me on Twitter at Spinosocks, I post tweets, and that's about it, honestly. Goodbye.